Basics of Life. My name is Ken Burkey, and Ginger Jacob is here, and she is one of our all-time... How many awards have you won on this show?
None, but thank you for saying that.
Her trophy case is just full of Basics of Life.
Right, exactly.
Grammys, Emmys, Oscars.
Thank you.
Yes, Tonys. I don't know what a plastic.
We need to create a name for an award for Basics of Life.
Yes. Well, you would win because you always.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to tell any of the other guests.
Oh, I'm sure you will. So I'll have to watch and see that.
So you have a problem today.
Yes, I do.
So Ginger has come to talk about problems. So aren't you glad you're watching?
Well, it is something that kind of levels the playing field because everyone has problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So So we're going to talk. We're actually going to talk about problems, and don't turn the channel.
Yeah.
Because everybody has them. Mm-hmm. We all have problems. So what we do with problems is really the key to life, not that we have problems or don't have problems, because it's inevitable.
Yeah, I hope today we can encourage some people to embrace that you need to walk with your problems and learn how to navigate through them versus trying to resort to behavior that will just make it worse.
Right.
So that's what I think is problems are universal. Everyone will have them. It's a question of when and how severe they are, but there are definite ways that are better than others to work through them.
Okay, so you wake up every morning and nobody says, I hope I have problems today. But family problems, work problems,
health
relational problems, health, financial.
Right, all those things.
The whole gamut.
Right.
So let's talk about, first of all, if they're inevitable, then what shouldn't we do with problems?
Well, I think one of the things that's really important to not do is to, or a lot of people do this, is to distrust that there is anything good that can come. So then you get into it creates fear, anxiety, all kinds of negative patterns. And so you really need to understand that, or I try to understand that through this process it will get better. So not to avoid them and to run away or to act in defiance and say, okay, I'm going to act out and I'm going to self-medicate, I'm going to do all these things because I can't deal with my problems. So I think it's important to recognize that there are positive ways, there are really helpful ways to navigate through versus those kinds of things.
So sometimes we look and we have a problem and then we think, well, I got a problem because I got a problem.
Right.
Rather than, hey, I got a problem, now here's an opportunity, but we must face it and not distrust it.
Right, and I think honestly, one of the most important ways to begin looking at your problems, and as hard as this is to sometimes just be thankful. Be thankful for your problems, and don't turn the TV off now. Because a simple act of thankfulness oftentimes will open your mind and your heart to some solutions.
Yeah.
And I've seen that so much at Green Valley in people and ministries that we've worked with that just saying, okay, I don't know why this is happening, but I am hopeful that there's going to be something good. And then by doing that, by letting your heart open to that solution, often God will give you something to help you with that.
Yeah, and this is not to be insensitive about problems.
That's why I wanted to.
But someone once said, when will I not have problems? Mm-hmm. And that's when you're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you have problems, that means you're alive.
Right, exactly.
Some of us are more alive than others.
Right.
But that's a great point too.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just thinking about one of the situations that comes to mind when I think about being thankful for problems is at our Hope House. We've talked about Hope House here before, a transitional home we have for women with children that we've had for like 8 years. And there, talk about problems when you're trying to help women, navigate a new road where they've had so much hurt and brokenness in their life. There is so many problems to try and work through. And last year we came to a point where it was really we felt like we weren't successful there, and so it was talk about problems. It was like feeling like we had failed, and what are we going to do? People were relapsing. We were really struggling as to how can we make this better. But I was so impressed with the directors of Hope House who said, we're going to be thankful for all those small miracles we've seen, and but now we're just going to reevaluate where we need to go. So it was kind of that humbling of, I'm going to be thankful for what has happened, even though we're navigating through all these problems, and God has just shown up, and now they've created a brand new program. They have new women in there with all kinds of hope. But it was that, okay, thankful for where we were, recognizing we have huge problems.
Right. Well, and you think about just in the history of the world, most inventions or great things have happened birthed out of problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's when problems come. We have an opportunity to do something better, or like you said, we can deny it, we can hide, and that doesn't solve anything.
No, and it isn't until you actually humble yourself and really recognize that, okay, I have a problem, I need to deal with it, that solutions will come to you.
So talk about that, because humbling ourselves to actually admit we have a problem.
Very hard.
So that's a big one, because we can say, oh, no, I don't have a problem.
Well, and that happens, you see it in every aspect of problems.
Well, that's why I do the show. I have no problems. I just interview people who have major problems.
I think, honestly, the act of admitting that you have a problem, in whatever area it is freeing.
Right.
Because then the solutions can begin to come. Until you, which is we talked about earlier, that defiance. If you just, if you don't admit that you have a problem, then there's no way anything's ever going to get fixed.
Right, right.
But,
so why don't you talk about some steps or just some thought processes that can happen when, okay, we're going to finally face the problem. What should we do? Not like 4 easy steps.
No, because it's not that simple. But, but yeah, I think one of the first ones that I've seen and experienced myself is you have to admit sometimes you can't do it on your own. And so it's very easy to say, okay, I have a problem, I shouldn't share it with anyone, I need to try and figure this out. But one of the main areas I work in at Green Valley is in the grief ministry. So I see lots of people who come in so deeply hurt and have a problem that is, I have lost a loved one and I cannot figure out how to navigate out of that. And so they withdraw. And what a beautiful story that I've seen happen that illustrates this point is a family who lost their son and literally thought, we'll have to figure this out. We're going to deal with this, ourselves. And they just kept getting more and more isolated and into a dark spot. And they finally reached out and said, we can't do this. Right. We need help. And someone came, and what's interesting is someone came to their house and just sat with them. It's not like they had this huge, book of answers. It was simply presence coming. But it took that family to reach out and say, I can't do this on my own. We need help. And I think that's a huge step for people when you have an issue of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it all the time. You handle a problem alone, it's over. It's overwhelming. You handle a problem with a small group of people that are for you, and it becomes kind of an adventure, or at least it becomes you have hope.
Right.
Well, another one with grief share is my friend Ken.
Yes.
Who get emotional. I mean, he lost his wife of 400 years, and
not really 400.
No, not 400 years.
Just want to clarify that.
I've been married.
A long time.
I should interview Ken if he was married for 400 years. But, it was devastating. And to see the support around him and to see his he's still struggling.
Absolutely.
But he's got hope and he's helping others.
Right.
And it's a powerful thing.
Well, and that is the model of grief share.
Yeah.
Where if you are trying to navigate, again, loss alone, whether you reach out to one person or to a support group.
Right.
Like grief share, which is 52 weeks a year, every Tuesday night. People come saying, I thought I could do this, but I can't.
It's like Celebrate Recovery.
Right.
It's like any of these things where sometimes, and you go back to the humility thing, sometimes we're embarrassed to admit we have a problem because we're the cause of it, but then sometimes we're not the cause of our problem, but we just don't want to be a burden. That's kind of pride when we just say, well, I don't want to burden anyone.
Yeah, which is just, it's just hard. It's really hard to figure that out. That's why you just have to take a step, know. And I do think as we're talking about reaching out and asking for help, I think one of the biggest problems with or struggles people have or when they are not successful in this is that isolation.
Yeah.
I just, on a personal level, our youngest son struggles with that, and he's a loner. And so when he goes through a difficult time, if he isolates, it's scary. Yeah. It's very scary. But yet when he surrounds himself with community, which as we talk about Celebrate and we talk about grief share, it's that community. If you are in a community, and I know with our son, when he's in a healthy community and he faces a difficult time, totally different how he navigates and his success.
Yeah.
Isolation is a scary thing with problems.
And let me just be cut to the chase on this. Part of the challenge there is there's not a lot of safe places to go
you
to.
need someone safe.
So you got to be a little proactive at finding safe groups to connect with, because especially if you reach out and you get burnt once, then And that's where, again, common ground and community care and all that you do, Grief Share. What's great about that is it's a safe place.
Right,
it's
right.
a safe. Somebody walks in, they're not going to be judged. They're going to be accepted who they are, and that's huge.
And that actually is a really good point. So when we talk about community, it is really important as you're navigating that you do pick someone safe, that you share with, or a group that's safe, because it can be more damaging.
Yeah, and in fact, you lead a lot of organizations underneath Green Valley. I lead Green Valley. That's one of our main jobs is to create a safe place. I mean, I've always said that with Green Valley. There's a lot of things we can do or not do, but we have to keep it a safe place because that is the huge first step for people navigating their problems.
Right, right.
So what are some other...
depending on the type of problem, sometimes it creates an opportunity for you to change some behavior. So whether it's a health issue, maybe it involves exercising or changing the way you eat, or if you are have an addiction problem, you need to get into a recovery group. So sometimes it's not just surrounding yourself with community and reaching out to friends. You need to change some things. Not, like you said, not all problems are ones that you caused, but if you did, you need to make some changes. And that's what I love about our Celebrate Recovery. That is a outreach we have where people have said, I need to make some changes in my life. And it's not just addiction, it's lots of behaviors they need to change, and that's really important.
And sometimes those problems, when they come to a head, it's such a great opportunity to make such positive changes. And at the time, the problem seems devastating, but then in the long run, you go, wow, they're not drinking anymore, their marriage has been repaired, and all of those things. I'm going to give you a Dr. Oz.
Okay.
I just saw this the other day. No, this guy weighed like 400 pounds, and he was turning 50, and he was going to have a grandchild, and he had some heart issues, scared him to death. He's lost like 200.
Awesome, that's so great.
200 plus pounds, and that's it. It was like, okay, here's a problem, here's an opportunity I need to make a change in my lifestyle. And that's huge. I think it is really huge. And I know my husband struggles with high blood pressure, and so we've had to make some changes in our diet. Do you have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I probably cause all of that. I hadn't thought about that.
Or Riley,
hopefully he's
her
not
dog.
going to watch this.
Riley, her dog, is about this big,
she's really, really big. There's some behavior modification I need to do there too, but that's a whole other story. But he started exercising, and there's things we can own about our own problems. It's not always other situations. It's things we need to change. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, which is really important.
So community and then problems, we can look at what are the things that I can do that I have control over. Something else.
Well, I think also one of the most important things is that you need to give it to God. Being a woman of faith, that is really important to me, that I lay my problems at the foot of the cross and trust that God will intervene and help me. And there is a sense of peace when you do that is completely different than anything I can explain. And I have a great illustration of that. Recently, my best friend, who is not a believer, her son and daughter-in-law had a baby that was born with some very serious medical issues. And so she was in intensive care for several weeks. And the other side of that family that her son married into are strong, strong believers. And to witness the difference in how the two families dealt with this crisis. And I love my friend. I mean, she's my very best friend. But the way that they prayed and the peace that they had, the trust that they had in God completely changed how they dealt with that problem. Yeah. And so it really was very obvious to me to see that it's just the only way to go about it, in my opinion.
Well, and science catches up too with the spiritual side of things, and so obviously. Prayer has been proven over and over. It changes so many things.
Yes,
and part of prayer is knowing that you're not in control.
Right.
You're not in control, and that I think sometimes these problems we hold on to so tightly, and man, it just overwhelms us with.
Right.
And there's a peace that happens when we kind of let that go. Celebrate. When they talk about the higher power, their higher power is Jesus.
Right.
But just the first step is to admit. I'm not in control here.
I can't do it on my own.
There's something greater than me. And then that journey creates all types of amazing discoveries.
Absolutely.
So, it's prayer is huge in this.
Absolutely huge, I think, and just for your own heart and the peace in your soul to be able to give it away, to say, I can't figure this out on my own.
Right.
I need God's help. That's a really big thing.
Yeah, because again, I think we kind of put everything on our own shoulders.
Right. Right.
I've told you this story a million times about New York City on Fifth Avenue, the Atlas holding the world on his shoulders. Then you go over into St. Patrick's Cathedral, and there's like a young Jesus about 10 years old holding the earth in the palm of his hand. And so that's a huge thing.
Right, and I also, there is a book in the Bible that I think is really practical when it comes to problems and prayers and just trying to say, I don't know what to do, and that's the book of Psalms.
Yeah.
And I just have found all through my journey with Christ that is a place I turn, and I would encourage people to do that are looking for a place. Just go to take a Bible and open it to the middle, because that's the book of Psalms.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if the church taught more out of Psalms, the church would be a radically different place, because David is honest.
Yes, he's very honest. He struggles.
I mean, he's got highs and lows and doubts
Yep.
and questions, and then gratitude. I mean,
absolutely.
It's very real life.
Yep.
That probably
very helpful, and there's something for every situation you're in.
Yeah.
Too. And the other thing I think, kind of lastly, Ken, is that once you feel like you're taking some steps to work on your problems, it's really great to start serving too, because I think when it becomes not about you, your problems don't seem so big, or you get some perspective. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but I feel like that's when you go, okay, well, maybe that's not so bad. I'm now taking care of someone else whose situation is worse.
Yeah. Before we started the show, we were telling stories. Your husband helping a group of people.
Yeah.
Whenever you go and serve someone and you hear their stories, it's not that you pity them, but it just puts your own problems into perspective. You know, and you go, okay, why am I whining or focusing in on these things? Or even if you have huge problems, it still helps put things into perspective. Because you realize sometimes we think we're the only ones with a problem. It's like, no, through the history of the world, everyone's got problems.
Right. So. As we're getting ready for taking it to the streets, it's a perfect time. I'm so excited to see the people that will be serving there, that are getting outside of themselves for the first time, that are definitely navigating through some difficult times in their life, but they're going to take a half day on a Saturday and say, you know what, today I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to go out and help someone else, which is healing. That helps when you're navigating life's problems.
Very, very therapeutic. And it's simple. We can all do it.
Absolutely.
And speaking of taking to the streets, I love that because it's so simple, because you just show up, and if this airs before May 2nd, come on out on a Saturday morning, show up to Green Valley, and you just show up, and you'll be told what to do.
You don't have to really overthink
Ginger won't even tell you what to do.
No,
her team will tell you what to do. But it's very, very practical, and it gets you outside of yourself, which is very, very powerful.
And Common Ground's another one. People that come and serve at Common Ground, and they're seeing people that are really struggling, that don't have enough money for groceries or clothing, and they're struggling relationally. I mean, it's across the board there, or seniors that are lonely that are there. So there's a lot of places people can get involved where it will help you to not be thinking about your problems.
And this isn't about taking it to the streets, but we're planting the garden too.
Yes,
right?
we are.
So the
to grow
church garden, that's going to be.
It'll be great.
I keep saying it's 20,000 square feet.
It's 20,000.
Yeah, but we're going to plant all types of stuff, right?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Almond trees yet?
No, we have almond trees in the memory garden.
Oh, we do?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Pistachio trees?
No, not yet. We should do that.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. Okay, so problems. Let's just review real quick as far as, well, go ahead and review them real quick.
The steps?
Yeah.
Try and be thankful, and which will open up your heart to what God has in plan for you as far as a solution to your problem. Reach out for help. Admit that you can't do it on your own. Surround yourself with healthy community, healthy, safe people, and change your behavior if it's something that you can do. And then once you've done all those things, try and get into serving and make it about someone else. Yeah,
and all of that, just allow daily prayer,
to lay it in God's feet,
because that kind of gives you, a strength beyond yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome.
Great.
That's a great show. Look, we did really good on time too.
We're on time today.
Yeah, that was only 45 minutes. No, it wasn't long. Thank you, Ginger.
Thank you, Ken, for having me.
You bet. And thanks for being with us here on The Basics of Life, and we will see you next time.